Our next keynote, Modern Illness and Ancient Amnesia, will explore this very connection. It encourages us to reflect on how revisiting time-tested wisdom can offer valuable insights into restoring balance and approaching well-being with greater awareness. Please join me in welcoming our speaker and bronze sponsor, Amy Elohim, owner and founder of Restored Identity. Through her all-natural herbal products, teachings, and books like Back to Herbal Basics, Amy empowers others to take ownership of their healing journey and return to natural ways that our Creator intended. Welcome, Amy.
Hello, everybody. I'm a walker, so I'm going to be like pacing back and forth. I can't sit still. It's the ADHD. Okay. So yes, my name is Amy Elohim. That is not my real name. My real name's Amy Hanford. But 5 years ago, my daughter said, "Mom, you need to get on TikTok and you got to tell everybody everything you know." And I was like, "No, that's not going to happen." Well, here we are 5 years later. I listened to her, and now you're going to find out the story of Restored Identity. So today I don't bring you anything like super cool and like fancy. I'm actually going to call you back to the basics. This is our company, Restored Identity. And on the surface, we look like a supplement company, but we're really not. I like to say that we're a restoration blueprint company. And what that means is that we believe that we were intelligently designed. And when you acknowledge that you are intelligently designed, you also realize that there are biological laws that you have to follow. And if you do follow those laws, your health will prosper. That's really what we're all about. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Oh, shoot. There we go. And I'm living proof of this. So what if I told you 7 years ago, this was my life? I used to have to use a cane to walk. Stilettos, they were a thing of the past. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I was very physical my whole life, and I was also very sick my whole life. I had severe constipation, TMI, but we're all friends now. So my Nana used to come over every Sunday when I was a kid to give me an enema because I just couldn't go. Every time I ate bread or any time, we were the generation in the 80s who grew up on processed food. So my digestive system never worked. I would be in the hospital at least 2 to 5 times a year with either debilitating migraines or severe PCOS. One time I had a cyst the size of a grapefruit that ruptured. I literally crawled into the hospital. So when I say like I understand sickness, that was my life. My dad, he passed away at 68 years old. He was on 22 medications a day when he passed, and a list of other illnesses. I took care of him for 17 years. The last 5 years, he had a massive stroke. No fun there. My mom, she died at 61. Same thing, 10 medications a day when she died, 35-year addiction to Xanax, fatty liver, COPD, the list goes on. So really, a whole lifetime of this brought me to this crossroads. And the crossroads is, we followed the protocols. We took the prescriptions. We tracked the data. We were faithful to the system, and we still didn't heal. So I reached my sick and tired of sick and tired. And one day a friend called me. She was like, "Hey, did you know we can heal ourselves?" I'm like, "Yeah, we've been trying to do that for the last 10 years. She's like, "No, really, watch this video." And it was a holistic doctor who was just talking about disease and illness. And I'm like, things are just starting to go off in my head. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start doing what this guy says. So down the old rabbit hole I go. And I wanted to know, how in the world did we even get in this place? How did we get here in the first place? And well, we realized that we stopped trusting the body's design altogether. We started to control it. We see it with big pharma, doctors. They don't even know disease really at this point anymore. They just know how to prescribe a drug for a symptom. We stopped trusting natural design and outsourced our health. We can see this because there is a doctor for every organ, and there's an autoimmune doctor there's a doctor for every autoimmune disease. So I also learned prior to the last 100 years, sunlight, water, minerals, foundations to healing. Whole foods, herb, community, all foundations to healing. But over time, that understanding faded until the world stopped. So, my question is, in 2020, how many of you found yourself out in nature a lot more when the old world shut down? Yep, me too. How many of you got into herbal medicine? Yeah? That's how I kind of got my claim to fame, or my TikTok fame. I got on there and started teaching everybody how to make your own medicine. And that's really how Restored Identity was born. People were like, hey, can you make me this? I'm like, sure, but I'm also going to show you how to make it, and if you don't want to make it, you can just buy it from me. That way people knew what was going into their products, what they were actually getting. I will never put a filler in any of our products. We are 100% organic. We actually still hand press all of our capsules, which is pretty impressive because we're pretty busy. But we just believe in quality over quantity. Taking one of our one of our capsules is like you have to take 4 of the other guys just because there's so many fillers and so much junk in it. So we also, who got into gardening? Me too. I went hard into gardening. You'll see in a second. How many hoarded toilet paper? I did. I'm guilty. I was kind of scared. Just kidding. So I did all of that, but I also went back to the basics. You can say what you would like to about this here book, but I've been studying it for 30 years, and the last 7 I've really intently studied it. And I have come to find, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that it is the best health and wealth book that will ever exist. Whoop. And here's what I learned, really. First and foremost, you find out in the first book of Genesis that God gave us every herb there was for food. Pretty simple enough. Ezekiel 47:12, the leaf thereof shall be for medicine. Psalm 104:14, God gave herbs for the service of man. Ecclesiastes 38:4, that's in one of the missing books. You should read those. Very pivotal to the time we're living in. That one says that God made medicine from the earth, and a wise man should not despise it. So here we go. This is where I was. This is all my herbal medicines I started making, and that's what Restored Identity looked like before it started. Isn't that cute? It's like, wow, I really came far ways. The second thing I learned, what we call food is not food. I don't know about you guys, but I grew up poor and on welfare. So that's a perfect lineup for crappy food. And we lived on pork and sauerkraut are from the north. That's a big thing. Ramen noodles, all of that. So anyway, as I was going through scripture, and I love to know the scientific things behind why God tells us to do things, because it just makes me want to do it because it makes sense. So when I got to Leviticus 11, and you read through that, and you find out pork, shellfish, all of this, they're bad. We're not supposed to eat it. And why? Well, because they're unclean bottom feeders. They literally eat anything. Everything God said, hey, you might not want to eat that. He was just looking out for us. Because all the animals that he said we could eat, they're all herbivores. They're all plant-based. I mean, that's pretty cool science. And also, just for fun, let's think about all of the things that are associated with pigs. Do you really want to eat that? Probably not. Okay. Oh, here's some pictures from some of my garden salads. So I just started doing this. I grew a garden. I started eating the food. I went from using a cane to not having to use a cane to being able to run again, to being able to work out, to being able to get my life back. And that was just food. That was the only thing I had changed. And I'm like, okay, other than implementing the herbs. But those were just 2 simple things, and my whole life was turning around, and I was like, wow, we're on to something here. Next up, you're going through scripture, and you find a whole bunch of things about parasites. Mold. Mold's actually so dangerous that you are commanded, if you cannot get rid of it, to just burn the dang thing down and start over. And we have people living in homes that are just rampant with mold, and a doctor doesn't even think to say, hey, got any mold in your house? Instead, they're just like, oh, well, they're depressed, so here's the Zoloft. And really, at the end of the day, the root cause is mold in the house. And now that we're super friends, because I've been up here for a minute, I'll tell you a little story. Prior to me getting healthy and I was in a cane, they were about to diagnose me with MS because they just couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. In 2 years, I had 5 stool samples, and every single one of them came back inconclusive, nothing found, you're fine. I'm like, okay, I'm crazy. So when I discovered these truths and I started making my own medicine, and I started killing the parasites in my body, I passed parasites every day for 11 months. Every single day. And here are some that came out of me. So, we're going to have to do something about some of these stool sample tests because clearly they're not correct. Every day, 11 months, stuff coming out of me. But also, the next thing I learned, rest is a weapon. We live in a state where we just never rest. All throughout Scripture, it's commanded. God made the 7th day. We were supposed to rest. He didn't make it for himself. He made it for us because there's a biological rhythm that exists that we should follow. And when you do, your body can restore itself. And if you look all throughout creation, it exists in everything. Seasons, animals, daily life. It's all throughout, even with insects. Did you know, by the way, beavers and bees, to this day, still keep the Sabbath? Some beavers do Saturday. We do the lunar solar at our company, which follows the sun, moon, and stars, but that's a whole other conference. All right, so what happened when I followed all of these simple steps? My life drastically changed. In 11 months, I lost 30 pounds. I discovered all of these divine truths. I was off 11 medications. I was off all of the medications I was prescribed. And I started restored identity. And almost 5 years later, we have thousands and thousands and thousands of people who have restored their health following these very simple steps. Good food, water, exercise, rest. And back to the rest thing for a second. I know this sounds crazy, but even my friends, family, everyone will tell you there is something divine in resting because there's no way that I should be able to get the amount of things done in a week that I do. But because I stop and honor that rest, I don't know what happens. I get like 3 times more done than I'm supposed to. And I think that's just pretty divine in itself. So I encourage you, try it. Take a day off. Sundown to sundown, I literally turn my phone off. I don't answer it. I don't do work. I lay on my couch. I eat. I sleep. And I just rest because your body needs it. It needs turned off for a minute. Which also brings me to one more story. I won't bore you. But have you ever heard the story of the guys with an axe? There 2 guys were hired to cut down a forest. The first guy was like, oh, I'm just gonna cut. I'm just gonna go hard, and I'm gonna cut, and I'm gonna beat this guy. The other guy, he stops, and he cuts a few down, and then he rests. And the other guy can't comprehend, why is this guy's gonna be so far behind? I don't understand what this guy's doing. I'm gonna beat him. Well, lo and behold, the guy on the right who stopped to rest won. And why is that? Because the guy said, well, every time I stopped to rest, I was sharpening my axe. You can't keep chugging away. Even if you think you're being productive, you're really not, because your body's not taking that time to step back and kind of just see a different perspective. And you're not usually going to get that unless you do rest. Okay, so here we are, back at this crossroads. And it really brings me to one question. If information healed people, shouldn't we be well by now? So I propose this to you, my friends, which I love to. Sorry I didn't catch your name in the blue. Yes, what's your name? Dr. Ann. We don't have a health crisis. We have a disconnection crisis. I'm on board with that full-heartedly. And let me tell you the moment that I realized this. My husband and I, he was my high school crush, by the way. Like, I've had the biggest crush on him my whole life. So when we finally connected later in life, we decided we're going to do this God's way. We're not going to do anything till we get married. We're going to wait till we get married, then move in. So when you do that, don't know if you've done that, you learn a lot of things about people that you didn't know. So like the first weekend, we're going to bed, and I noticed every night, I use grounding sheets, so I was just letting him go. He was wearing his Apple Watch to bed, and I was like, finally after a week, I was like, what are you doing? Why are you wearing your Apple? He's like, well, I need to know how good I slept. And I just kind of stopped for a second. I was like, we are at this point in history where we're the most advanced. We can track sleep, our glucose, our heart rate, inflammation markers, hormones, all of this. But we're the sickest we have ever been. So we didn't lose technology. We lost wisdom, we lost responsibility, and we lost trust in the body. Because all I did was go back to the basics. I'm not against biohacking tech. I think that's all amazing because it's telling us things we don't know about ourselves. But for the common person who's pretty poor and can't really afford a lot of these things, we just got to tell them, hey, eat right, get some exercise, rest. So the body was never meant to be controlled. It was meant to be stewarded. And the future of health will not be decided by innovation alone, but by the humility to return to what truly heals. So today I end with this. What if the future of health is a return to remembering what was never broken? And there's a scripture in Jeremiah 6:16 that says, stand at the crossroads and look. Ask for the ancient path, and you will find rest for your soul. Thank you.